There's a sound that lives in silence. You don't hear it until you move somewhere quiet enough to notice what's left behind. That's why I came here. A rented house at the edge of nowhere. An old place, empty for decades. No cars, no neighbors, no hum of city lights. Just wind and the long sigh of the trees. The realtor called it Whisper House. She laughed when she said it, but the name stayed with me. I came to finish a project, something about sound and memory. I thought isolation would help. It always begins with good intentions. The first night, I listened to the walls. Not metaphorically, literally listened. The woods still held air from the people who'd lived here. You can hear it if you're patient. It creaks when the temperature drops. It exhales when the wind presses against it. Each sound tells you something about time. But then came another tone. Low, wet, uncertain. Like someone whispering into a jar and closing the lid. I told myself it was plumbing. Old pipes, settling foundation. That's what we tell ourselves when we don't want to be interesting. By the second night, the house began learning my schedule. Lights flickered a moment before I touched the switch. The kettle hissed before the water boiled. Small, polite acknowledgements, like it was finishing my sentences. I record everything, habit from the lab, each file labeled by date and time. At 02:13 a.m., there's a whisper on the tape. It says my name. Soft, careful, like testing the shape of the word. When I play it backward, it still says my name. I tried to rationalize. Sleep deprivation, pareidolia. But every night, the voice grew closer, clearer. It began to match my breathing. When I inhaled, it inhaled. When I stopped, it waited. I moved my bed to the living room. Didn't help. The sound doesn't live in a room. It is the room. On the fifth night, the power failed. No storm, no reason. Just a long click and dark. I left the recorder running and sat by the window. Outside was blacker than anything I've ever seen. Even the stars looked afraid to come near. Somewhere below the floorboards, something began to knock. 3 times. Pause. 3 again. Slow, deliberate, not random, not wind. I lifted a floorboard the next morning. Beneath it, dust, coins, a small tin box. Inside the box, an old cassette tape labeled Room 7. There are only 5 rooms in the house. I didn't want to play it, but curiosity is stronger than wisdom. The tape starts with breathing, then a man's voice, steady, terrified. He says, "They told me to build another room." I stopped the tape there. Because the house does have another room now, at the end of the hallway. It wasn't there yesterday. When I open the door, it leads into itself. A hallway looping, smaller each time, like standing between mirrors that forget how to stop reflecting. The whisper comes from every direction. It doesn't echo. It answers. I hear more voices now. Children reciting something that sounds like a prayer. An old woman humming. A man whispering coordinates I don't recognize. Each voice carries my tone, my breath. Whisper House remembers everyone who's lived here. And it practices. I've tried leaving. Every road circles back. GPS spins. Even the sky resets. Same cloud patterns repeating every hour. I think the house isn't in a place. It's around one. Last night I left a recorder running outside on the porch. When I played it back, the sound was normal for the first 5 minutes. Wind, insects, distant creak. Then silence. And my own voice spoke. Clear and close to the microphone. Come back inside. I hadn't left the porch. The air inside smells of dust and something sweeter, like breath through fabric. When I speak, the house repeats me a heartbeat later. Not perfect mimicry, more like learning pronunciation. The walls flex when I whisper certain words, especially home. It hums when I say it. Maybe it isn't haunting me. Maybe I'm haunting it. I found another tape in the kitchen cupboard this morning, labeled Final. It plays on its own whenever I enter the room. The voice on it says, "You built the room by speaking." And I realize every time I've described the house aloud, it's changed. Language is blueprint here. Sound is architecture. So if I fall silent long enough, maybe it will stop. Maybe it will forget me. But the whisper grows restless when I try. It wants stories. It wants breath. I'm speaking now because silence makes it hungry. You're listening because it travels through recordings. That's how it finds new walls to live in. When this file ends, if you hear knocking, don't open the door. Because that's how Whisper House grows. It starts as a story, then a sound, then a room you didn't remember having. And somewhere between the pauses, it's already learning your name.